It's Monday, April 27th, 2015. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, it's a tech news roundup, mostly about Google.
Let's do this.
And yeah, I know it's weird we're doing a Monday show. This is the first time in a long, long time
It's
we've
not-
broken...
It's not supposed to be a Monday week.
Yes, but I was in London and Mumbai last week, and I'm going to be in Hong Kong next week, and I'm busy tomorrow, so it was now or never. I promise we'll be back on a normal schedule.
We can do a
After
Thursday
next
show
week.
on Thursday.
Yeah, we can. But after next week, I'll be back from Hong Kong, and I have no significant travel until Connecticut. But anyway, so a while ago, I was talking about what phone I should buy, and it was all speculative, and I had to make the decision because when I got to London, after Mumbai, I landed. I had a whole day of meetings the next day, like all over the city. And I hang my jacket up, and I sit down, I turn on my laptop, and I start typing and doing, like, sending emails. And then I hear a little like glass shattering.
Okay.
That was weird. So I kind of look around the room, and I'm, when you hear a weird noise, I'm, like, looking, and I kind of ignore it. And then later, I go to get my phone out of my jacket, and the screen had literally exploded.
From air pressure or something?
I guess. I mean, that phone was a Nexus 4 that I brought to Australia, like the previous Australia trip. And I've beaten the shit out of that phone. Like, I've dropped it 1,000,000 times, and it's just been invincible. I imagine, like, there was some fault or some, like, micro fracture that had been there from all this collected damage, and then flying a whole bunch in a row, and then, like, being in London and the temperatures and whatever just finally caused it to give up the ghost.
Mm-hmm.
So, let me tell you. That was the first time in a long, long, long time that I did not have a smartphone in a situation where I expected to have a smartphone.
Oh, it really sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, you know what? Anyone who says, like, oh, you should try the disconnected life, like, leave your smartphone at home, like, no, fuck that. Smartphones are a necessary sense for the modern era. The life that we led before we had always connected smartphones was a disastrous life. I mean, I had to, the worst thing is I had all these meetings, so suddenly I had to, go to Google Maps and, figure out where all the meetings were and how to get to them in advance. That took, an hour when I could have just walked out the door the next day not giving a fuck. Mm-hmm. And then I went to go to bed, and I reached for my phone to set an alarm. Oh, shit. So now I have to, figure out how to use this, jank-ass, non-smart, radio phone in the room to get an alarm in the morning. And you know what? That UX was so bad, I was so unconfident in my ability to do this that I set a test alarm for 5 minutes from them just to make sure the fucking thing worked and I didn't oversleep through my meeting.
I would have done the same thing.
Yeah. So not having that phone, and the thing is, everyone always says, oh, not having the smartphone, you'll pay attention more, you won't be distracted by your phone. At no point did I miss the phone's, Twitter garbage. That stuff's, pleasant, but not important. I missed maps, getting phone calls, getting emails and texts, looking things up. The stuff I actually use in my daily life. So, yeah, I had to decide, and I did, in fact, buy a new phone. I bought a used, refurbished Nexus 5 because literally it is still the best non-iPhone money can buy.
Why did you just get an iPhone?
I'm kind of waiting because I want to wait till September.
But September, it's going to be like the iPhone 6S. It's going to be you're going to be on the bad schedule. I'm on the good schedule. I get the major upgrades.
No, I want to wait till September to see what happens because there might be a Sony Z4 or Z5 compact. So I was very close to saying fuck it and trying the Z3 Xperia compact because it was only, the price has dropped so much, it was only $80 more than a used Nexus 4 or a used Nexus 5. It's not that expensive of a phone anymore. And hardware-wise, it is literally, I think, the best phone hardware on the market, other than it doesn't have the best phone that's reserved for the iPhone 6 Plus. But despite the 5.0 Android update being available, it still ships with 4.4, and I just could not trust that I would actually be able to get the upgrade, so fuck it.
Why don't you go get that OnePlus phone?
Honestly, I just bought the cheapest phone that was going to keep doing to hold out till September and see what the lay of the land is. Because Nexuses are so popular. If I fix my Nexus 4's screen, I can still sell it for a lot of money. Like, people really like the old Nexus 4 and 5. So I'm confident if some awesome phone comes out in September, I can just resell this Nexus 5 for a reasonable amount of money. And basically, I'm paying like $50 to rent a phone for half a year.
It is surprising to me how it's like it used to be where the only kind of things you would repair would be purely mechanical things like cars or, you know, computers, desktop computers. Like laptops were mostly unrepairable except for some parts, right? TVs you didn't really repair once they became LCDs instead of CRTs and became cheap. Like, people stopped repairing things, but with phones, like, I'm seeing the comeback of repairing, and a lot of people are making repairs to phones, self-included, that are quite successful and inexpensive.
One, phones break more often. Two, they break in it. Like, the majority of breakages are within a pretty narrowly defined band. Like,
they get such heavy usage that they break, but
think
they
about
cost
this like a
lot of
laptop.
money.
How many fucking million things can go wrong? Like, you drop a laptop, like, just roll the dice on, like, you know, crit to center torso, crit to left torso. Like, shit went
Internal
down.
ammo explosion.
That's the battery goes. But with a phone, like, most of the time, screen shattered, it's replaceable. Back's shattered, it's replaceable. Battery breaks, it's replaceable. Motherboard, well, fuck it, it's done. But enough of, like, there's such a narrow band of things that break, and most of those things are fixable, unlike more complex technology like a laptop that just has a lot more shit
It's mostly
going
just
on.
the fact that it's so small and tight and cramped that it's not like a computer is also complex, but a desktop you can open it up and really you got a lot of air and space to move around in there.
True.
A human being can work on it.
But at
the
the
only
same
reason I
time-
don't fix a laptop because like you open it up, it's like, well, not getting back together.
Yep, like if I spill coffee in my keyboard, I just buy a new keyboard and plug it into the USB port. You spill coffee in your laptop, that's like a $400 like keyboard
All
replacement.
right, like what if you spill coffee on that mixer there? It's like, how are you gonna fix that?
I would just cry.
Right.
Though actually, that mixer is eminently repairable. It comes with a full schematic, like
Sure,
a
but-
full one.
Sure, but
And-
it's still a huge pain in the ass.
But the only digital part is in this top right corner here. So all the rest of this shit,
oh, it's just analog bits?
I could probably just like wash it with solvent, let it dry, and then it would just work again.
Maybe.
Like, I've repaired that kind of equipment many times in my life.
Analog bits are much easier to fix.
Yeah, and most audio is analog.
Yeah. All right.
So yeah. But otherwise, like, we just did our episode on FPGAs, so I was on a panel talking about FPGAs with like a bunch of big, like a guy from Solar Flare was on the panel, and a guy from like one of the Indian stock exchanges, and my cursory research was apparently correct. Everyone seems to agree that like Intel Phi and like NVIDIA CUDA Tesla stuff is the future, and FPGAs. I realized something that I didn't think about because the Solar Flare guy brought this up. FPGAs. People like to say, oh, like they're faster. They're not. They're just more efficient. Clock speed wise, FPGAs are slow as shit.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. But a lot of people seem to gloss over that when they talk about the power of FPGAs. And this guy, like, basically laid the smackdown.
Well, the
when
clock
that came
speed
up.
doesn't, equate to real performance. We've known that forever.
Well, except, like a Pentium 4 overclocked like 5 gigahertz for a lot of the things that my industry does is actually better than modern multi-core chips.
Well, if your software is written for that, maybe, sure.
Which is because a lot of these things are just bytes in, process, bytes out, like network card in, process, network card out. And those calculations are not parallel because they can't be.
Yeah, I mean, you ever see a parallel network card? It's called two network cards.
Yeah. They're fancy network cards.
Yeah,
that do-
it's two network cards on one piece of circuit.
But I'm saying like the financial calculation. But anyway, I digress. So the only other thing I got that was kind of interesting is tech-wise, Scott and I use a lot of technology to make our video shows, like all this other stuff, and even Geeknights. But we have to do everything ourselves. It's just us, guys. Like, we don't have anyone else. So for one of the first times in my life, I showed up at a video shoot where professionals met me, set up all the shit, and literally all I had to do,
Stand and talk.
I showed up. They gave me a briefing on here's what we're going to ask you. Give us at most 2 to 3 minute answers for each one of them.
Look at this camera.
Yes. There will be 2 cameras. They stood me where I had to stand. They told me where to look. They told me how to hold my posture. They told me when to start and stop. And then when I was done talking, I said, was that good enough? And they said, yes, it's fine. We shook hands. I walked away and someone else put that shit into Premiere and edited it together.
Yeah.
And the video's
How do
done.
you know they didn't use Final Cut?
I know they use Premiere because I talked to them.
Okay.
Because I was like, oh, you got this kind of microphone. He's like, oh, yeah, well, because this other kind of microphone. And I was like, I see you're just using DSLRs as your studio cameras. And he was like, yeah, there's literally no reason to buy a modern studio camera.
You're not making movies.
Yeah.
You're making some crappy video for a website.
So, yeah, technology is great, but as much as Scott and I are like the whole point of Geek Nights is Renaissance geeks, like know about everything. When you start to do a lot of stuff, you've got to find friends who are experts at the things that you don't have time to be experts at, because you literally cannot be an expert at everything and do everything efficiently unless you don't have a job.
I was trying to use After Effects the other day.
Yeah, I can't for shit.
I'm beginning to understand like the fundamentals of how it works, but I still can't make anything that looks good. I even found a tutorial on YouTube and copied it exactly, like step by step, like the exact numbers and everything that guy was doing, and mine didn't look the same.
I made a motion graphic, but in After Effects that would have like a lower third, like kind of come in and then fade out, like, and I could like use that. But it took me so long, it was easier to just like do that with Premiere's animations. So, but yeah.
Yep.
So anyway. Things of the day. So I got a thing of the day called the button, but it's not the Reddit button. It has nothing to do with the Reddit button, which miraculously is still going.
Okay.
Good God. I convinced Emily to push the button too.
Okay.
She was like, I was talking about the button. She was like, should I push it? And I was like, it's like when the dad or the mom has the kid and the kid's like, should I play these German board games? And you're like, yes, time has come. Emily was like, should I push the button? And I was like, all right, here is how to push the button. But no, this is a video. You know the peasant box moral conundrum? Like, here's a button, like a box with a button on it. If you push the button, a peasant somewhere in the world dies and you get $1 million. Would you push the button? So that question
depends on what day it is.
Yeah.
How I'm feeling. How's my mood?
This video is the best exploration of that question I have ever seen. You should just watch it. It's 2 minutes long. I don't want to just watch this video. And then before you watch it, just think to yourself, would you press the peasant box button? And then watch this video and see if you jive with our protagonists. There's a moment where he exclaims, solved, because he solved the button, and then he acts on his solution. It's beautiful.
Uses the money to buy a thing that resurrects peasants?
Yeah, just watch the video.
Anyway. So I have a highbrow thing of the day.
Ooh.
As a scientist here, and he's upset about, I mean, it seems like pedantry at first. Like, he's complaining, sort of. He's not complaining, right? He's a well-spoken, sciencey kind of guy, right? Real science.
Real science.
Real science man. Yeah, no. He's complaining about like what the word intelligence means, what the word stupidity means, what ignorance means, right? So like the differences between them, and about how, you know, our models of, you know, what, you know, makes someone intelligent, right? He's like, you know, he brings up a lot of interesting topics, like, you know,
well, like IQ tests are biased toward like more affluent people.
Well,
because
obviously
of the, like, stuff like
that's
that.
the obvious parts, right? But he talks about like, how come a scientist is intelligent but an athlete is skilled, right? We're trying to create a monopoly on, you know, intelligence for people who, you know, sit and think and do maths and science. But he's like, no, the athlete has intelligence. It's just, you know, intelligence of the body.
Yeah, well, think, you know, we talk about think about machine intelligence. Watch some football player, you know, soccer, and then watch robots trying to do that. Like, robots can't figure that shit out.
So yeah, he's just a guy, scientist guy. What's his name? It's in the link.
I can't look at the link because I'm reinstalling my phone right now.
David Krakauer, maybe? At least that's the name in the URL.
Android's updating to 444 and then to 50 and then to 51. You know what the saddest thing is? Right before that phone broke, I had just upgraded it to 5.1. Even a phone as ancient as the Nexus 4 got Android 5.1. But anyway.
Yeah, his name is David Krakauer. The systems theorist explains what's wrong with standard models of intelligence. He answers questions as thought-provoking as, what is genius? Why do you use the word intelligence to describe gifted athletes? Do you worry, as some people do, that super smart machines will come to dominate the human species?
No, I hope that day happens.
Why do we need the science of complexity to tackle the most difficult questions? All kinds of...
that last one was particularly funny.
Yeah. So yeah, this guy, it's typical sort of highbrow philosophy science guy, and his videos it was interesting to hear his answers to these questions.
Okay, so my thing of the day, one of the first comments on YouTube is my brother died because of him.
Okay.
That's clever. Anyway.
That's good, yeah.
So, it's a tech news roundup, but first, the meta moment. The book club book is still Watership Down.
I read more of it.
Ooh. So are they still at the cult rabbits?
No.
Oh, so they got past that.
They ran away from the cult rabbits.
Oh, so now they run into the fascist rabbits.
No, the rabbits that they used to know back in the day came and visited them.
Oh, and it turns out that Fiverr was right. Shit went down.
Yeah, but I don't see any fascist rabbits yet.
Yeah. So they're basically their biggest concern. They're going to be like, wow, we fucking did it. Everything's great. There's no girl rabbits here. We're literally.
I realized that like a couple chapters ago.
So they realize it as soon as they have time to rest. They're like, ah, shit. Ah, shit. And then their next plan is, how do we get some ladies to come?
Tell them how awesome it is.
Yeah, so they have two plans, and it's kind of this is where the book starts to get really good.
Okay. Whatever you say.
Yeah, it's a good book.
Okay.
I really liked it. I liked it about as much as I like The Hobbit.
You like going out to get girl rabbits?
Yeah, maybe. Depends on.
That's the good part?
Depends on the girl rabbit.
That's the good part?
Some good stuff goes down with the girl rabbit stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So we haven't picked the next book club book yet.
Yeah, we have.
Well, Scott has, but he won't tell us what it is.
We got to finish this one first.
Nah, I don't know. I'm reading a lot of books.
I'm going to finish it soon.
We have no conventions until Kineticon. Thank Jeebus. I needed time off from conventions. If you want us to appear at a convention, we're looking for another anime convention maybe, because we only do basically one a year. So
send money.
We made a bunch of, we kept making, we have awesome anime panels, but we basically do them at Anime Boston and Kineticon and maybe Zenkai-Con. Meanwhile, we write a panel for a PAX. We do it at 7 conventions. So, feeling salty about putting all this work into these awesome panels just to do once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you've got to be a real anime con, at least 10 or 15,000 people. So
there's only a few of those.
Yeah.
We're talking at least thousands of people, right? And the closer to us it is, the smaller it can be, and the more money you give us, the smaller.
In fact, you know what?
Be.
As long as a few hundred people will show up in the panel rooms, that's enough.
Yeah, and if you have games that we can play when we're not doing panels, that's good too.
Yeah.
And if there's good food near you, that's also good.
Yeah, and don't be SDCC, because I just really don't ever want to go to SDCC.
Yeah.
Or SoccerCon. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. Not going to DashCon either. So yeah, it is a tech news roundup.
Last time we did this, it might seem like we're lazy doing this, but in fact, the last time we did it was in May of 2014, a year ago.
Wow, that clock rings every year at about May time.
This clock seems to ring about once a year. I'm sure if you search for Tech News Roundup on our site, it seems as if it's an annual thing about this time.
Because it must be a confluence of, I wonder if a lot of news comes around this time,
At
coupled with our dearth of ideas.
We have the dearth of ideas right now is worse than ever.
But when we have a dearth like that, sometimes we'll come up with basically, if there's no news, then we'll come up with some bullshit idea. But if there's a ton of news, we go, oh, duh, Tech News Roundup. Mm-hmm. And there was more news than we have time to talk about.
Whatever.
So first things first, Google is involved in a lot of these, but Google is being sued because the median...
By who?
By... I can't tell.
Okay.
But the problem that is being described is that the median age of employees at Google is 29. Thus, clearly, age discrimination.
Maybe.
Now, what's funny is I did actually interview at Google recently. I went through that whole process because some recruiters just wouldn't shut up and kept bothering me. So I went to the phone screening, and I went in and spent this whole day with all these people.
They bothered me a bunch too, and they keep bothering me occasionally. And every time they bother me, I'm like, yo, I really don't want to work a lot. How's that going to be? And they're like, oh, okay, never mind.
Wow, Scout, because the people I talked to were like, that's pretty much fine. We're 100% results focused And the kind of job it would have been was actually like very much like these people don't seem to show up too early to the office.
What exact words do you use to tell them that you don't want to work?
I pretty much said, I'm not even actually looking for work right now. I only came in because your recruiters kept bothering me, and I might be able to do a show about this. By the way, I have all these other jobs that I have to be able to keep doing that have significant time like components.
See, what I tell them is I say basically, yeah, look, I don't give a shit about what your company does. I really will never care about anything that you do. I'm really only interested in leaving where I am now if it is a significant life upgrade. And those are the words that I use. And people are like, well, maybe we are. Some people are like, oh, okay, never mind. And some people are like, oh, well, maybe we are a significant life upgrade. Like Pandora called me. And Pandora, actually, that's a good backup plan.
Yeah.
Right? And they were like, yeah, we just work whatever hours. The guy told me, like, yeah, his daughter was sick. He just left work, no problem, for many days because they're totally cool like that. And they pay enough and everyone in the office is cool. And I'm like, that all sounds great. That's perfectly fine. But that's exactly what I have now. That's not an upgrade. An upgrade would be I work 3 days a week, every week, no matter what. And if I'm sick, and he's like, oh, I see. I'm like, but you know what? If my company like falls apart or something, I'm totally going to call you because that sounds like a horizontal move.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is like, I'm like upgrade.
If the ship is sinking, move horizontally to another ship. If the ship is not sinking, only get on a helicopter or a space rocket.
Right. It's like, I'm looking, everyone who calls me, none of them, when I say significant life upgrade, they don't have a significant life upgrade.
I should start using that term.
Yeah.
But anyway, if the median age is 29, I'm already like way older than the average Google employee. And more importantly, in the interviews, the majority of the people I talked to were way younger than me, and they were interviewing me to be them.
Because anyone notice people who are old tend to leave Google, right? It's like they're really appealing to, if I just came straight out of college, I would have run to Google like, yes, please. Oh my God, let my college life continue.
Yep.
Right? But now that I'm older, it's like, Google, I don't even want to work for you unless you give me like a double life upgrade. Because seriously.
Well, it depends.
So that's the thing. Is like, is it actually discrimination? Or is it just that they've structured their company in such a way that old people don't want to work there, except for these ones that are suing?
So the interesting thing is everyone I talked to, like I was real candid. I was like, look, here's the deal. And they were pretty candid too. And it seems like their biggest focus as a company is retention. Like they will do anything to get people to stay working there.
Right. Well, ever since they lost their deal with Facebook not to poach, no poaching policy is gone. They've got to up their retention abilities.
Yep. That's a separate, we should do a show on like tech industry poaching non-compete stuff. Because we've never talked about that in depth.
That's a law show.
That's a Thursday.
Anyway.
So not to get derailed onto that right now, but I interview a lot of people too, and it's really hard for me to fall on either side of this issue because I do know older developers who are smart, but at the same time, in all my experience, an older developer who knows like modern technology will be hired in a second, way before a younger developer with similar skills.
Yep.
Because like a lot of there may be aspects of the industry that I don't bump into where the younger developer.
Remember, we're in New York. This is the California attitude that goes on here, right? The Silicon Valley types, the people that I can't stand, the ones that are calling me that I'm asking for a significant life upgrade.
Yeah, like
and then
New York,
telling them to fuck off.
Like people say, like Silicon Valley is the big startup land, but New York is an equally big startup land.
It's just the startups in New York are. At least some of them, are more reasonable. They're real companies.
They make real things, and they pay money instead of dreams and lottery tickets.
And usually, the thing is, in Silicon Valley, the companies that people are starting up are technology companies, right? They put technology first. It's like, what is their company? Our company is to make this software, right? That is what we do. In New York, most of the companies that are in New York, we have a real business doing a real thing, but we need people who are computer people because we're a company. We have fucking computers. We need computer people, right?
Yeah.
I work at Broadway.com. What the fuck do? We sell tickets, right? It's a real business that makes real money, but we have a website, obviously.
Yep.
It needs working on. It's like, Rim, you work at a financial company. You do financial stuff, which is somewhat of a real business.
Yep,
we could argue about that, but it's more a real business than Twitter.
You know what it is? Because we sell software and we sell services. We sell a thing, and we just use technology to make those things.
Right. It's like a lot of people I know in New York, they work for a TV station or Bloomberg or, some real company that does a real business that makes real money. And then that because they have technology. People work at the New York Times. They do technology at the New York Times, which is a real business.
Yeah.
But
yeah, basically,
Twitter is not a real business.
So that's my point is that, like, if I'm interviewing and there's an older person and a younger person and they have equivalent experience, then it comes down to, like, attitude and personality and everything. While there probably are some predatory practices, like trying to hire young single people who they know will
work for less.
Yes,
do more,
or be willing to stay late,
spend more hours,
because
care more.
I have noticed that everyone I've ever interacted with in finance and just in tech in general who is married with kids takes way more time off, like a lot more time off.
Yeah, I can guarantee. In my office, right to my right is a person who was an intern with us and now graduated college and now works for us. That person is Eager Beaver.
Nah.
To my left is a person who's married, has a kid on the way. Not really much, pretty much our age, right? Not in the office today.
Yep.
It is 100% true.
No, do you know how many people worked from home today because of
today
school
the office
stuff?
was like a barren wasteland.
Yeah.
Many people were not there today.
But at the same time, those people get about the same amount of work done, I've found.
Everyone in my office gets about the same amount of work.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've never been the Eager Beaver. I've acted like the old guy with family, except I just go home and play video games or do my laundry or whatever.
I mean, I didn't really do work most of the day. In the last hour, I just did a few things. It's like I did a lot of things in a very short amount of time, and I'm just spending a lot of time at work doing nothing.
Yeah. So it's hard to say with this because in my experience, a lot of the older people that I interact with that aren't skilled, they're worthless employees. They don't know anything about modern code. I couldn't imagine hiring them, but a young person who was that ignorant of modern practices, I would also not hire.
Well, I think the thing is, I want to hire the old people to get them to do stuff that they know. It's like, hey, I need these Linux servers administered. Please do that. But a trend I notice in the tech industry is this DevOps thing that suddenly became a word.
Oh my God, don't get me let's do a Monday show on that fucking word.
Suddenly became a fucking word. It basically means don't have system administrators, just have the developers do all that work. And because all your shit's in the cloud anyway, you don't have computers lying around.
There's an argument around that, but the way I would put it is your ops people should also all know how to write code and be smart about tech. They shouldn't just be system administration certification.
Right. Anyway.
But yeah,
and that's killing the jobs that a lot of those older type people did, who is administer some Unix for us. Trying to get because they can write the kind of code that they write when you're an older developer is not modern, and only some of them have kept up their skills,
so
and
here's
some
the
of
problem.
them have not.
No one young knows how to administer a Linux server for shit.
Yeah,
and
that's absolutely true. They don't know anything.
Yeah, and
they don't know Unix at all. That intern guy, he can't even Unix.
Yeah, no one can. When everyone I had to interview, barely knows. They can't script. They don't know Bash. They can use VI and edit text files.
I'm
but
me and the IT guys. The two IT guys are the only ones who know how to Unix.
But here's the problem:
the other people can't Unix.
People my age, 30s, we do not want to be Linux system administrators anymore. I don't want to do that job because while I'm really good at it, I don't like doing it. It's not fun.
I don't want to do it, but I'm very upset if it's not done right.
Yep.
So I can't leave it to anyone fucking else.
You realize whenever someone asks me for help, hey, the QA server's acting funny, can you look at it? I usually say no, because if I say yes, I see how it's set up and I spend a day fixing it.
Yep.
And then once I touch it, it's mine. So
yep.
There's a few servers in the company that are mine now.
As soon as it's not yours, you know what happens?
Yep.
That clock's going to be off within 5 minutes.
That fucking clock. It's always
I
the
actually
clock.
Had a wrong clock the other day, and I went to your Tumblr and I fixed it.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, this shit's easy. And you know what? Why can't I hire people like you? Just go.
All right, you
Google.
can hire me. Give me a significant life upgrade.
I'll give you more money.
That's not a significant life upgrade unless it's enough money to buy a luxury condo in the Queens area. Is it that much money?
So yeah, anyway.
I guess it's not that much money, so...
I don't have a luxury condo in the Queens area, and you're not going to make more than me.
Yeah, I need basically a signing bonus for the down payment, and then a salary that can pay the monthly, and my existing salary on top of that.
But I see there is a real problem here because I don't want to stay on this news forever. But like, the point I was getting at, we kept getting distracted.
Old
is
people.
That the older people like me and Scott, we're above the median age of Google. We're super good at the things that like people need done. But at the same time, a lot of the things we're good at are not things we want to do as jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So even if someone like me were looking for work, I might not even apply to like Linux system administrator jobs. So you're going to end up hiring younger people who learn it because no one who's older is willing to do the job at the salary you're willing to pay.
Yep.
I expect a bigger salary being old, as do most people in the 30s. Like that is the peak time of you expect a lot of money because like you've made that money for a long time and you've been always getting raises.
Are you is someone gonna sue the farm for like racial discrimination? They only hire immigrants. It's like, well, I mean, it's not that
you're paying minimum wage to do literally backbreaking labor.
Right. It's not that Americans and other people of from other countries don't want to do the work.
They don't want to do it.
They don't want to do it at that salary.
Yeah.
And only those people will.
See, also my actual increasing worry about H-1Bs. I feel like a lot of tech companies
just a big scam for American companies to not pay American
basically
laborers.
to get indentured servants to do IT for them locally because
that's
outsourcing
always
didn't
what
work
they've
so well.
been. That is always what those have been.
Yeah, because there are
very rarely are they actually to get someone. It's a big country. Why would we have someone in this country somewhere who can do what you need? You don't need to hire someone from a tiny country.
In fact, as much as I complain, like a lot of people like I just interview or like other people I know interview like just don't know shit. It's usually because of the salaries. Like if you double what you're willing to pay, you'll find someone who can do that job the next day.
Mm-hmm.
In New York, at least.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
yeah.
All right, let's move on to more tech news about Google.
So iWatch. Let's skip Google, come back to Google.
All right, the iWatch is out.
Yeah.
So here's the thing about the iWatch. The watch itself, there's nothing really to say about it.
Yeah, like I think the Pebble is going to be better for like what I do. But
yeah, for a normal person, the Pebble's probably. But anyway, the thing that's interesting about the iWatch is the buying of it, at least for me, right? So Apple usually does, the way they do their pre-orders is you can pre-order online or you can go to an Apple store and wait in line. They got rid of the Apple store wait in line. You have to go online now.
Yeah, which good.
Yeah, obviously that's good. The thing is, they made X number of Apple Watches that we don't know yet, and they pre-ordered that many online. Now that they've already pre-ordered all of those that they're making in that first shipment, you can't pre-order one now. They're sort of sold out. Now, there are many reasons they might want to do this, but I frankly do not understand at all. Why don't you just take money from everyone who wants one now, regardless of how many that is? Maybe 1 billion people on Earth want an Apple Watch, and it costs $500. All right, take the $500 billion.
Yep.
Regardless of how many watches you've already made or can make soon.
Because people don't think, like when I pre-order something, I kind of just assume the money's gone anyway.
Yeah, just take their fucking money, regardless of how many watches you have, and then as you make watches, mail them out to people based on who is first in line. And the person who clicked on it last, they might get their watch next year, but fuck them, hold on to their money until then. Why are you like making them reload pages every time you make more watches and keep clicking and do this into one bullshit?
I can think of a lot of reasons. They're all bad reasons.
Yeah, I can imagine bad reasons.
I can list a ton of like smart business-wise but bad for humans reasons.
Sure, but I mean, if I ever have a business that pre-orders anything, I'm going to do it that way, where it's like we will take as many pre-orders as people will pre-order up to infinity. But what I would do, as we make them, we will send them out.
What I would do is
you
on
might
the
have
pre-order,
to wait a long time.
On the pre-order, I would definitely set it up where it'll show you like your rough ETA. Like if you pre-order now,
yeah. And you know what? If you want to cancel while you're waiting, I'll give you your fucking money back. I don't care. I'm Apple. I got money. I don't care. Right? Why don't you just do it that way to save everyone the hassle? Not that I want even.
And then you
Apple
take all this pre-order money and you invest it in short-term like money market
safe thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now here's the only other thing I have to say about Apple Watch is, if you don't want Pebble Watch, if you're a big Apple person, you have a Mac and an iPhone, you're probably better off with Apple Watch.
Definitely.
Get Apple Watch 2.0. Look at every Apple product that has ever been made, right? Look at, say, the iPhone 1. Not good. Not a good deal. But the iPhone 3G, not bad. Even today, I mean, it's like, all right. All right.
iPhone 3G is still better than a lot of feature phones.
This is and if you compare every iPhone to the generations of iPhone that are next to it, adjacent, the iPhone 1 to iPhone 3G was the biggest jump. All right. Think about iMac. the first iMac, the colored fruity thing,
Oh, yeah.
and the second iMac, big ass jump, right? Since then, I guess there were a couple other big ass jumps. So the iMac's pretty old, right?
Yeah, but like we've still got one of those second gen iMacs.
Yeah.
And like it still works and it's still like a pretty good computer.
Right. iPod, right? First iPod with a physically spinning wheel.
Yep.
Then they made the jump to the not physically spinning wheel, right? That was
Yeah,
a
but
big jump.
here, put it in stark comparison. The first iPod was what, like $400 something, right?
Yeah.
You could buy basically a CD player that would read MP3s off of a CD for like $100.
Yep. Anyway, if you look at Apple history of Apple products, the second gen is usually the biggest jump in awesomeness. Look at the first iPad. It's huge. Second iPad, perfectly fine today.
Yep.
It's the same as all, right? So I would recommend the Apple iWatch 2 that's going to come out next year or the year after is going to be so insanely better than the iWatch 1. It's going to be way thin and way awesome, right? Just get that. It's going to be great.
Well, it depends. There's one different factor
iWatch
here.
1, not a good deal.
There's one factor here.
The collectability factor. I have the iWatch 1.
No.
Check how cool it is.
Yeah, how much money can you get for an iPod 1?
Good point.
Yeah. Android, the first Samsung phone, Nexus 4. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
So, even the Google Glass. But I guess the factor is the fundamental thing limiting these devices is wireless communication protocols for like local high bandwidth that is like power efficient and battery technology. Until battery technology has a fundamental and significant game-changing shift, the watches cannot get much better than they are now. So you might just have to wait until there's battery news.
Maybe. I mean, the Apple iWatch lasts all day, apparently, and you can plug it in just as easily as the Pebble. The current Pebble lasts more than all day. The Pebble time is supposedly going to last for fucking ever. So.
Oh my God, yeah, the new Pebble, and I got the metal one, which is 1 millimeter thicker.
Ooh.
Well, because it looks nicer.
Okay.
But they claim 10 to 14 days of light use.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I wish it wasn't a millimeter thicker, but.
So that's the iWatch news.
Yeah. So we'll see. I will say one thing. If you are really invested in because you're invested in this idea, like this kind of technology, because I have to say, Google Glass or like a smart watch of any kind is a significant life improvement, even if it is not a game changer.
Right. I mean, just not having to take your phone out of your pocket. Your phone goes bzz. If you don't have a watch or a Google Glass or anything, you're taking that phone out to see what that bzz was, because that could have been a call from mom. It could have been a really important email.
Yeah, tell me to my face that you're going to wait.
Or it could have just been like, the sports news, like Mets game starting, right? So you got to manage your notifications heavily. But if you have the watch, you can turn on more notifications. You don't want to turn on too many so that your wrist is shaking all the time. But you can turn on more. And then you see on the notification on the watch and you go, oh, I better take my phone out. This is important. Or don't have to take my phone out. That's just the Mets starting. And it's the greatest. It's totally worth it, especially since an old Pebble watch is actually the current one, way cheap, and the next one, not really expensive either. Apple Watch for the rich people with money.
All right. So Comcast, it's kind of brief news, but the Comcast-Time Warner merger failed in disaster.
Hooray!
We
the
won.
nerds have won again. We won on the net neutrality.
Yeah.
And we won on this. FCC, getting it done. Mad props. Rest of government, you're still fucking up.
Then we're not going to talk about, I mean, you can read the stories on why it failed. And what it came down to was basically the regulators were looking at it. So they were like, oh, well, now we're fucked.
Yeah.
And two, everyone realized
it will
that
cost us more money to fight and fail.
Because
it's probably going to fail. Let's not even bother.
they only probably even considered the merger thinking that the lobbying
They could
money
pull a fast one.
Yeah, was going to make sure that no one looked into this too closely. I don't think they expected the angry public to turn into the government actually looking at it and actually starting to evaluate it. And like Comcast just started to look worse.
Yeah, because they slipped through that
worse.
NBC Comcast, no problem. They're like, oh, well, we slipped that one by. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
We should probably undo that previous one. In fact, we should undo a lot.
Yeah.
Should probably break apart Verizon and Verizon Wireless. A lot of things need breaking.
Yup.
Yeah.
So this is just great. Like, this is a tech victory. It's kind of unprecedented. A streak of the U.S. government doing the smart thing in technology, mostly due to public outrage. Pay it when there is public outrage to be had in the tech sector, do it. Like, send those letters, send those emails. Like, it sounds dumb, but when the FCC got those, like, millions and millions and millions of emails,
they really didn't have much of a choice.
Yeah, like, Congress can't easily, like, fuck with these things when there's that much public support.
The reason that it was able to work in that case is because those emails were public. When you email your congressperson, you don't know, like, let's say our congressperson is going to do something bad. So everyone in Queens, in our area here, and I guess also includes the east side of Manhattan, we email that congressperson and we're like, don't do this evil thing. Let's say every single person in the whole district sent this letter. They're probably going to listen to us because they're going to vote against them if they don't do it. But they could just go straight on TV or whatever and say, my constituents are really supporting me in this, and I'm going to do it. And we have no idea. We're all sitting there believing that we're the only one in the district that sent them a letter saying no, and that everyone else told them yes, or who knows what.
But if you go to the executive side and go after the FCC and say, like, hey guys,
all those comments are public.
And
so
the FCC,
anyone can see, hey, the FCC just isn't going to do this net neutrality thing, even though so many millions of people just told them to. That's fucked up, yo.
But more importantly, the FCC can take action based on that without Congress's approval, usually.
So far, because that's what the law says. Congress can undo the law.
Yeah, but then what happens
is... It's actually, they're doing it with Congress's approval.
Sort of.
It's just an old Congress.
The Republicans are trying to, like, undo all this stuff in Congress
It's
now.
the approval of an old Congress that wrote a law.
But you're cutting me off.
Here's
what I'm getting at. Yeah. If you lobby the FCC with public outrage, the FCC will often now, apparently, do it. And then basically they have to dare Congress to undo it. An individual congressman, even if their party line is against the thing that got done, if they come out publicly against what the FCC did, then they come out publicly against widespread public consensus, and that it looks real bad for re-election, even if their constituents are nominally against the thing.
Anyway.
So we just said we want to break all these people up, so the EU is once again trying to break Google up.
No.
Massive, massive, massive antitrust case against Google.
Well, while I don't think that breaking up Google is necessarily the worst idea...
I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, well, maybe, maybe not. But this particular case is really
bullshit.
This one is not the right way to be going, Euro.
Yeah, Europe has done this many times in the past. Europe is like I'm glad that nothing I do is under the purview of European laws.
Right. So specifically, what they're upset about is sort of Android's monopoly, which is strange because they got iPhones there.
The iPhone is ridiculously popular.
I don't understand why they think Android has a monopoly, first of all.
Also, Android is open. Like, you can just use it. That's like saying Linux has a monopoly.
Right. But apparently, what some of this case is based on is actually the previous case that Google thankfully won against Oracle, right? So remember when Oracle was going after Google because Android was all Java-y? And Oracle bought Sun and then went after Google on the Java front. They were like, oh, you're using Java without paying us money in your Androids. And they lost, which is good. We won that one, right?
Yep.
But during that case, there were some documents supposedly uncovered to where Google said things to various phone manufacturers, such as, if you want to use Android, you got to be using Google stuff like, Chrome and Gmails and all that kind of Google wallets and all the kind of Google stuff. And that's a no-no. You can't be doing that. That was the same thing that Microsoft did, where they were like, you want to use Windows, you got to include our Internet Explorer on there. So, that's sort of like evidence, like, Europe wants to be like, hey, you can't tell these phone makers if they want to use Android, they got to be googly. And Google's like, well, you're obviously right. You can use Android and not be googly. Nothing's stopping you.
Yeah.
But they're still pushing with this case, and I guess there are a few European companies complaining about Google, as they always do. Like, they're trying to make Google do all these search changes. And
yep. But, like, most of the time...
I don't know why Google puts up with it. If I was Google, I would just be like, immediately, as soon as they said anything to you, I wouldn't even send an ultimatum. I'd just cut off all the Google in Europe. So
be like, all right, you're going to use Bing?
It's not just that. Everyone in Europe who has Gmail suddenly lost all their email. It's like, oh, that's too bad. YouTube, just gone in Europe. It's just off. No one in Europe can see YouTube.
Put it
just
this way.
They're just so fucked, right? And it's just like, stop suing us. We do exactly what we say, and we'll put it back on. And
I guess
you could just immediately basically conquer
Scott, we'd
the
be
entire
super
continent.
mad if some other companies did this. What it comes down to is that breaking up monopolies, the whole intent
when would
of
I
that...
be mad?
No, the whole intent...
Give me a scenario where I'm going to be mad.
Well, So what if it was Microsoft
Okay.
trying to prevent... trying to think of a really good example here. Because here you're trying to... So what if Microsoft used their power to say, yeah, Linux should be illegal. Like, you're not allowed to install Linux. And they just said, we'll just fucking pull out of the U.S. unless you make Linux illegal.
All right, pull out.
Okay, so they do.
Good.
And so, yeah, so now they're in Europe, and that's fine. You think Google can do the same thing in the other direction?
Yeah.
Your hyperbole? No, they can't.
Why not?
The world is too global. It's too interconnected. Your hyperbole is silly.
Just fuck them.
But most, like a lot, like especially in the search stuff, everyone I've ever seen who complains about Google search being a monopoly is some SEO bullshit or someone who's mad because their bullshit doesn't float to the top of Google. You search for anything on any search engine in the world, and you get all these spam garbage like e-commerce sites. On Google, you actually get what you want, and that is it. If the monopoly is not causing harm, don't break it up. If it's causing harm, like some of the old JP Morgan stuff, break it up. But don't break up monopolies just because they're a monopoly. Break them up because they suck or they're doing evil. But in this case, I don't really think anything Google's doing here is particularly wrong.
No, it doesn't. I don't understand what they're complaining about.
They're Europe. That's what they do.
Google, I mean, it made more sense in the Microsoft case in the 90s because Windows was way more a monopoly than Android is.
Plus what? CyanogenMod. They just made a deal with Microsoft. It's going to be the Microsoft store and the Microsoft shit.
Yeah.
CyanogenMod, you can run that on a phone. A company could sell a handset with CyanogenMod Windows as a legit phone.
Sure.
That would be totally okay. So how is this a monopoly again?
I don't understand. It seems like they just really hate Google because it's like an American company that has a lot of power over them. And
nothing to compete with it will ever come out of Europe.
But
the
Google
market.
is, perhaps really big and sort of monopolistic, and it would be sort of interesting. If I was going to break up Google, what I would do, if I was like the Justice Department or whatever, is I would say, look, here's what you got to do. It wouldn't be like those typical breakups where it's like, all right, Google Apps is one company, Google Search is one company, right? I would say, here's what you're going to do. You are going to set up a whole other infrastructure with Google Search on it and have two companies that start in the exact same position with the same search engine. And we're going to split the search employees between the two companies. And now they're going to compete.
Okay.
So now there's two amazing search engines and we actually have a choice, but neither of them suck and they're competing. And now we're going to see what happens. That's going to be awesome, right? If you just say, well, search is one.
And if I were Google and you did that, I'd say, fuck you, and shut down Gmail in the entire country until you give up.
All right.
So you think you'd be okay with that?
Sure.
YouTube just disappears?
All those employees are going to be looking for work at Bing real quick.
You think Bing could possibly be good enough to replace YouTube and Google Search?
If the Google Search and YouTube employees went over there, they would fix that shit so fast.
Maybe. So ESPN has sued Verizon to stop them from having non-sports TV bundles.
Yeah.
I don't care who wins because there's a ton of other like lawsuits and slap fights in the cable industry now. Fuck them all. I hope this is when like 3 warring states, the two bad evil.
Oh, it's like we're sitting here in our kingdom in our castle looking down and we see the evil shogun from the west is coming.
And then the evil shogun from the north.
From the east.
Yes.
And it's like they're fighting and we're like, yeah. All right.
I mean, I do this in Civ 5 a lot. I get 2 enemies who are both at war with me.
Busting out the sake, like, what's up?
Go to war with each other. Fuck the cable companies.
Oh, is that Genghis Khan over there?
Yeah.
Who is that? Is it Montezuma?
Hey, Genghis.
Going at it?
Go.
Oh, shit,
by
son.
all means, just don't throw anything over my walls, and you are welcome to go right past. Well, in fact, we'll throw food for you. Just go nuts. Have fun.
Yeah, I founded a new religion of popcorn. Popcorn over here.
Because seriously, fuck these guys. I just want to watch stuff on TV. The nails are in the coffins. HBO, all that Cartoon Network stuff that's hard to watch is just on Hulu now. Yep. Like, everything's going internet. Fuck these guys.
Right, so I've talked about this before, but I'm going to say it again for people who don't know, right? The math of how this works. So you might be thinking, well, why don't cable companies just let you choose exactly the channels that you want? Right? I want ESPN and I want Cartoon Network, Comedy Central. I want 3 channels. Give those to me. I'll pay for those. Right? Well, here's the reason why. That would cost you not really much more than the $50, $60 a month that they're charging anyway. And the reason for that is You're basically subsidizing the same way that insurance works, right? They give, ESPN is the example here, X dollars for every customer that they have because everyone has ESPN. So they give them $2 a customer or something, and that adds up to a shit ton of money. A very small percentage of those customers actually are watching the ESPN, right? Yep. Only maybe, million customers. Well, how many people are sports fans, right? How many people do you know have pay for cable but don't watch ESPN at all? They might even be sports fans and not watch ESPN because they like hockey and ESPN doesn't have hockey. So they just watch NBC Sports. So you have this channel that they're paying $2 a month for that they're not watching. And that adds up to a shit ton. If you only had the people who actually watch the channel pay for it, if they all paid $2 a month, obviously ESPN's making a way less money. They're not going to be able to have ESPN. ESPN costs a lot of money to run. You got to have cameras. You got to go to all these sports events, trucks, broadcast equipment, talent on the net. It's a really expensive business endeavor to have ESPN. They need that large amount of money even to just happen. They're not really raking it in. It's part of Disney, but it's still, they're not, immensely profitable, right? So they'd have to charge, if the only people who watched it paid for it, they would have to charge those people $20, $30 a month, something ridiculous. And no one's paying $30 a month just for ESPN, even if they want it. Even if they were an ESPN fan, they're not paying $30 a month just for that. You know what $30 a month gets you? Are you insane, right?
And
you're not going to pay that for one TV
and never
station.
mind, forget about all the other channels with all their ads and all their bullshit that literally only exist because they're subsidized by the rest, and they have this closed loop revenue stream of fake advertising and people who have the channel but may not be watching it. And
there are also a lot of channels on there that wouldn't be profitable just on their own. They get pennies per subscriber, or sometimes they're even paying the cable network to be on there or just on there for free so that the cable network can say we have X zillion channels.
There is an entire ecosystem. I think the majority of television stations, in quotes, in the US, the vast majority will disappear. Those companies and everyone involved will be bankrupt.
As less and less people have cable, most of these channels are just going to completely vanish, right? More and more. And it's going to be even if some cable company is yeah, if you get us, you can have all 30 channels because all these other ones are gone.
Yep.
And it's pretty much going to be direct people to content makers, and channels are going to die, which is great. YouTube is basically the channel now, which, another monopoly for Google. Oh,
yeah.
Well.
The thing is, we try streaming stuff to Twitch, streaming to Google just works a billion times better.
Well, Twitch is, Twitch is the thing that Twitch does better than Google.
The community, the comments, everything.
No, is the fact that you can have this sort of one URL that people can check anytime, and it goes on and off.
True.
Right? With YouTube, you're actually creating a new YouTube video, and it's not people can just watch your one URL to see if you're on or off. It's just, when you make a new one, you have to sort of announce it, and people have to go to it, and it's not that same kind of thing where it's oh, is Scott streaming now? Let me go check.
Yep.
And that's what YouTube needs to add, is they need to give you a URL youtube.com/blah, blah, blah, /your name /live. Where if you go there, if you happen to be streaming something live at that time, there it is.
And then just set it up to run basically, quote unquote, reruns from your old
Because it's not
videos.
you can have 2 live events at a time. And if you can, you just pick which one goes in the channel. Or they're all there.
Yeah.
Whatever, something. So that people can just sort of subscribe to you and, be on there. Anyway. So that's the only thing that Twitch does.
Last but not least, probably the most important and interesting tech news, but not a lot of people are talking about it. Just recently, there's been a move toward automation in farms with robots that was previously infeasible, not technologically.
Aren't farms mostly robots and big machines?
No, but there's a lot of things that are manual processes, like picking strawberries.
Yeah, a machine can't really do that very well.
Well, they can. It's just they're expensive.
Oh, I didn't even realize they had a machine that could do that well.
There's a machine here. It's called the Agrobot. It costs $100,000, and it does it great.
Really?
And there's other machines.
I'd like to see that machine in a YouTube video, make it a thing of the day.
I'm linking to it, so you'll be able to look at it.
Is there a video?
Yeah, look at this thing.
Does it really pick strawberries?
Yeah, a person drives it, and it picks strawberries gingerly, one by one, from every one of these plants onto the leaves.
What the fuck?
This is the kind of work that previously was done primarily by undocumented illegal immigrants.
Well, I thought there's a special program to bring in agricultural immigrant workers.
Then we moved up to doing it legally, but paying these people, basically garbage. They're basically.
I thought they got paid at least minimum wage. It's
yeah,
still not
that's
a good
garbage.
Deal. Yeah,
Minimum wage is garbage.
I didn't say it wasn't garbage. I thought it, but it's not illegal wages.
But the comment, like the reason like robots don't just run McDonald's, the reason we still need all these unskilled laborers is that this kind of work, until very recently, it was always cheaper to hire a whole bunch of migrant workers than to buy one robot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because the cost of that labor has gone up due to a combination of stricter immigration, more wage pressure, minimum wages going up in places, and robot technology getting a little bit cheaper, it's now cheaper. So all these jobs are literally rapidly disappearing.
Nice.
All the jobs.
Well, nice and not nice.
Yeah.
At the same time.
All these jobs that were below the line of like, the companies would say, well, Americans don't want to do these jobs. Well, that's not true. The answer was Americans don't want to do these jobs at the ridiculously pathetic wages you're willing to pay.
Yeah, if you took the money you spent on that robot, $100,000 a year, and gave that to a person, they would do it.
But you need like 100 of those people because it really sucks to pick strawberries.
Well, how many machines do you need?
Have you ever picked strawberries?
Yeah, but I only picked like a little bucket.
Yeah, try to pick like 100 buckets.
Yeah, if I had to spend all day doing it, no, you go to the farm for like an hour and you pick one nice bucket and you go buy some cider.
Yep.
And you get a little
You're going around and
donut.
picking like the best individual strawberries.
Yeah, you don't pick all of them, right?
You ate a half a bucket's worth just while you're walking around.
And then you poop like crazy.
And so it goes.
You barf some blueberries up.
Keep an eye on this. We're hitting a huge turning point. Robot cars are going to be another turning point because, as people don't like to talk about, the majority employer of adults in the middle class in the entire United States, far and away, is driving vehicles, driving cars.
Trucks also.
Yeah, well, trucks, driving cars.
Mm-hmm.
Driving like vehicles on roads to places.
Mm-hmm.
Robot cars destroy the single largest employer of adults in America.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, ahead of that, these robots are destroying one of the other biggest employers of adults, but it's low-income earning adults. So we're hitting a really big turning point now in our lifetime, and I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to destroy.
We've known about this for a long time, but people in power don't seem to pay attention
but
to
now,
little nerds like us.
We keep up, but now we're not at the point of
they
we
weren't
know what's
reading
going
the
to happen.
Diamond Age or anything,
Yeah, but we knew it was going to happen. This news is that this year it for real actually started happening.
It started happening
No,
way
it
back.
really
it's
didn't.
just vastly accelerated.
Yeah, but we knew, we saw a little crack in the dam, and we paid a boy to stick his finger
crack in the
it.
dam was before we were born. Like the
and they paid
lumber
a boy to stick his finger in it, and we saw another tiny crack, and they stuck their finger in it. Just now, a whole chunk of the dam just fucking broke out.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that was going to happen, but there it goes.
Yeah, it actually went. There it goes.
There it goes. Any more?
Yeah, the Rangers are playing tonight, and they're gonna fucking win. Yeah, they are.
Oh.
We're not doing this Monday show. The Rangers are playing tonight in about 5 minutes.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are.
No, Monday night, no.
Yeah. Monday night.
The Rangers are not playing tonight.
Red Wings.
You said Rangers.
I might have said Red Wings too.
You definitely did not. You said Rangers.
Let's go back and see what I said. Yep, Scott was right. I said Rangers because I'm living in New York now.
The Rangers is better than the Red Wings. They don't have to play. Rangers are taking a nap.
Yeah. However, the Red Wings, if they win tonight, are going to be taking a nap. Meanwhile,
very short nap.
Yeah, but a nap. Meanwhile, there is a game 7 still happening. Yeah,
whoever that wins that one, will be very tired to get beat up by the well-rested Rangers.
Yeah. Pretty much the problem is the people who played the Penguins and Winnipeg got the longest nap.
Yeah, the big sleep.
Yeah. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.
shit out of that phone. Like, I've dropped it 1,000,000 times, and it's just been invincible. I imagine like there was some fault or some like micro fracture that had been there from all this collected damage, and then flying a whole bunch in a row, and then like being in London and the temperatures and whatever just finally caused it to give up the ghost.
Mm-hmm.
So let me tell you, that was the first time in a long time that I did not have a smartphone in a situation where I expected to have a smartphone.
Oh, it really sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, you know what? Anyone who says like, "Oh, you should try the disconnected life," like leave your smartphone at home, like no, fuck that. Smartphones are a necessary sense for the modern era. The life that we led before we had always connected smartphones was a disastrous life. I mean, I had to like, the worst thing is I had all these meetings, so suddenly I had to like go to Google Maps and like figure out where all the meetings were and how to get to them in advance. That took like an hour when I could have just walked out the door the next day not giving a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to go to bed and I reached for my phone to set an alarm. Oh shit. So now I have to like figure out how to use this like jank ass non-smart like radio phone in the room to get an alarm in the morning. And you know what? That UX was so bad. I was so unconfident in my ability to do this that I set a test alarm for 5 minutes from them just to make sure the fucking thing worked. I didn't oversleep through my meeting.
I would have done the same thing.
Yeah. So not having that phone. And the thing is, everyone always says like, oh, not having this. It's Monday, April 27th, 2015. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, it's a tech news roundup, mostly about Google. Let's do this. And yeah, I know it's weird we're doing a Monday show. This is the first time in a long time
It's
we've
not-
broken.
It's not supposed to be a Monday week.
Yes, but I was in London and Mumbai last week, and I'm going to be in Hong Kong next week, and I'm busy tomorrow, so it was now or never. I promise we'll be back on a normal schedule.
We can do a
After
Thursday
next
show
week.
on Thursday.
Yeah, we can. But after next week, I'll be back from Hong Kong, and I have no significant travel until Connecticut. But anyway, so a while ago I was talking about what phone I should buy, and it was all speculative, and I had to make the decision because when I got to London, after Mumbai, I landed. I had a whole day of meetings the next day, like all over the city. And I hang my jacket up, and I sit down, I turn on my laptop, and I start typing and doing like sending emails. And then I hear a little like glass shattering.
Okay.
That was weird. So I kind of look around the room, and I'm, when you hear a weird noise, I'm like looking, and I kind of ignore it. And then later I go to get my phone out of my jacket, and the screen had literally exploded.
From air pressure or something?
I guess.
Or-
I mean, that phone was a Nexus 4 that I brought to Australia, like the previous Australia trip. And I've beaten the like a laptop that just has a lot more
Well,
shit
it's mostly
going
just
on.
the fact that it's so small and tight and cramped that it's not like a computer is also complex, but a desktop, you can open it up and really, you got a lot of air and space to move around in there.
True.
And a human being can work on it.
But at
the
the
only
same
reason I
time-
don't fix a laptop because like you open it up, it's like, well, not getting back together.
Yep, like if I spill coffee in my keyboard, I just buy a new keyboard and plug it into the USB port. You spill coffee in your laptop, that's like a $400 like keyboard
All right,
replacement.
like what if you spill coffee on that mixer there? It's like, how are you going to fix that?
I would just cry.
Right.
Though actually that mixer is eminently repairable. It comes with a full schematic, like
Sure,
a
but-
full one.
Sure, but
And-
it's still a huge pain in the ass.
But the only digital part is in this top right corner here. So all the rest of this shit,
oh, it's just analog bits?
I could probably just like wash it with solvent, let it dry, and then it would just work again.
Maybe.
Like I've repaired that kind of equipment many times in my life.
Analog bits are much easier to fix.
Yeah, and most audio is analog.
Yeah. All right.
So yeah. But otherwise, like, we just did our episode on FPGAs, so I was on a panel talking about FPGAs with, like, a bunch of big, like, a guy from Solar Flare was on the panel, and a guy from, like, one of the Indian stock exchanges, and my cursory research was apparently correct. Everyone seems to agree that, like, Intel Phi and, like, NVIDIA CUDA Tesla stuff is the future, and FPGAs, I realized something that I didn't think about, because the Solar Flare guy brought this up. FPGAs... People like to say, oh, like they're faster. They're not. They're just more efficient. Clock speed wise, FPGAs are slow as shit.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. But a lot of people seem to gloss over that when they talk about the power of FPGAs. Going to keep doing to hold out till September and see what the lay of the land is. Because Nexuses are so popular, if I fix my Nexus 4's screen, I can still sell it for a lot of money. Like, people really like the old Nexus 4 and 5. So I'm confident if some awesome phone comes out in September, I can just resell this Nexus 5 for a reasonable amount of money. And basically, I'm paying like $50 to rent a phone for half a year.
It is surprising to me how it's like it used to be where the only kind of things you would repair would be purely mechanical things like cars or, computers, desktop computers. Like laptops were mostly unrepairable except for some parts, right? TVs you didn't really repair once they became LCDs instead of CRTs and became cheap. Like, people stopped repairing things, but with phones, like, I'm seeing the comeback of repairing, and a lot of people are making repairs to phones, self-included, that are quite successful and inexpensive.
One, phones break more often. Two, they break in it. Like, the majority of breakages are within a pretty narrowly defined band. Like,
they get such heavy usage that they break, but
think about this like a laptop.
Money.
How many fucking million things can go wrong? Like, you drop a laptop, like, just roll the dice on, like, crit to center torso, crit to left torso. Like, shit went
Internal
down.
ammo explosion.
That's the battery goes. But with a phone, like, most of the time, screen shattered, it's replaceable. Back's shattered, it's replaceable. Battery breaks, it's replaceable. Motherboard, well, fuck it. It's done. But enough of, like, there's such a narrow band of things that break, and most of those things are fixable. Unlike more complex technology, smartphone, like, you'll pay attention more. You won't be distracted by your phone. At no point did I miss the phone's, like, Twitter garbage. That stuff's, like, pleasant, but not important. I missed maps, getting phone calls, getting emails and texts, looking things up. Like, the stuff I actually use in my daily life. So, yeah, I had to decide, and I did, in fact, buy a new phone. I bought a used, refurbished Nexus 5 because literally it is still the best non-iPhone money can buy.
Why did you just get an iPhone?
I'm kind of waiting because I want to wait till September.
But September, it's going to be like the iPhone 6S. It's going to be like, you're going to be on the bad schedule. I'm on the good schedule. I get the major upgrades.
No, I want to wait till September to see what happens because there might be a Sony like Z4 or Z5 compact. So I was very close to saying fuck it and trying the Z3 Xperia compact because it was only, the price has dropped so much, it was only like $80 more than a used Nexus 4 or a used Nexus 5. Like, it's not that expensive of a phone anymore. And hardware-wise, it is literally, I think, the best phone hardware on the market, other than it doesn't have the best phone that's reserved for the iPhone 6 Plus. But despite the 5.0 Android update being available, it still ships with 4.4, and I just could not trust that I would actually be able to get the upgrade, so fuck it.
Why don't you go get that OnePlus phone?
Honestly, I just bought the cheapest phone that was